Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you everyone for tuning in again. This is the third week of the Eritrean Cultural Festival for our community. And today's event online is about Eritrean Martyrs. For the one that doesn't know, today is a public holiday in Eritrea where they remember the people that sacrificed and died to liberate Eritrea from the colonizers. For the one that know doesn't know much about history of Eritrea, as an Eritrean country, we've been colonized, a few times by the British, Italian, and the Ethiopians in that sense, where our people, the Eritrean people, stood up and sacrificed their life for so that we as Eritreans are able to call ourselves Eritreans. Without those people that sacrificed their life, without them, there wouldn't be a country called Eritrea. There will be no way for us to call ourselves Eritreans. So days like this are very important because people are made a very, very, very serious decision regarding their lives. They had everything, or they had something in their life. They had families, they had friends, but they sacrificed their life for us, for their country, for their people, for their community. And it is important that we don't forget that. It's important that we don't forget those people that worked so hard, that gave up everything to liberate Eritrea, so we can call ourselves Eritreans. So today, I have invited a few speakers, to come and tell their stories about someone they know within their family or someone they know within the community, that they can come and tell their story about those people. Who were those people? What kind of person were they? What did they? What did they decided? What was the reason they decided to stand up and sacrifice their life to liberate Eritrea for their people? So I wanted to make sure that you guys hear it directly from the people. And also there are, of course, well-known people that people know in general, like Kabira, Awate, and Ibrahim, and all other people that have fought so hard. And Alhamdulillah, Eritrea, we are one community, one people. We have different cultures from different tribes. We have people from different faiths, Christians, Muslims. Alhamdulillah, we are one, as one community, one family together. Everyone sacrificed so much for our people, for our country, to make sure that we can call ourselves Eritreans, to liberate Eritrea. Alhamdulillah. Today we are, as the MCAS Eritrean Muslim community, we want to talk about the people that we know within our own community, and to share their story, inshallah. So today I have one of the speakers is Brother Muhammad Yasser. I'm gonna invite him to the show, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Muhammad Yasser. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, brother Nuruddin Sultan. Alhamdulillah, bikhair. We're fine, in good health.
Alhamdulillah. First of all, thank you so much for coming today. It's a very important day, especially a lot of people from my generation and a younger generation don't know much about the different brothers and sisters that sacrificed their life for Eritrea, for us to call ourselves Eritreans in that sense. And I know that you have someone or know someone that has sacrificed their lives. For the one that doesn't know Brother Muhammad Yasser, just a brief introduction about him. He's a very active community person from the Sahel community and from the Muslim community in general. He's also a counselor at Stockwell in London. It's in Lambeth Borough. And mashallah, I'm very happy and glad to have him here today at the show. Brother Muhammad Yasser, I'm going to give you the platform, inshallah, and I'm going to come out of it, inshallah, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay, jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. Masa al khair. I'm Muhammad Abdullah Jasser. And of course, I'm Eritrean, and I live in Stockwell, Lambeth. Like anybody, I came here as a refugee from Eritrean war zones. Um, Today, it is Martyr Day. Day Muhim. It's a very important day in our country, in our history. And particularly myself, I left Eritrea when I was young. My family involved in Eritrean struggles from 50s, 60s and onwards, from my both sides, families, both sides, parents, my mother and fathers. Uh, Many of us who left the country are young, and also our parents also left the country because what they're looking better life, more secure, more better job, probably neighbor country like Yemen and Saudi and Djibouti and Eritrea. And my father, he went 69 to Djibouti because he was attempted to arrest him many times by Ethiopian Tostrawit military. I'm going to talk about today about the village of it's called Irafale, which is in the Red Sea, coastal Red Sea. It is a center going between two different Eritrean regions, Al-Bahr al-Ahmar, Red Sea, Akul Gazai, and Dankalia, which is the Afar. How's it going down to the south? Myself, I'm Afar, I'm Saho, I'm Tigray. Okay. um, Today is an important day in our history calendar for Eritrea. I'm going to talk about my father brother. His name Ahmed Muhammad Jasser. Okay. Um, um, he born 1942 in a village called Irafale, and from well-established family, and he's from both parents. And his father was the leader of the village Irafale, and also well respected. And also, in terms of the income and wealth, they are good wealth. I mean, I can say more than middle class. They have land, they have animals, and so on. My grandfather was respected in the Italian colony from 1942 to 1951. Sorry, from late 1980s until 41. They was occupied Italian Eritrea, and they select him to be leader of the Rafale. Ahmed Jasser born in 1942. He's 2 years younger than my father, and he finished 4 years degree, 4 years first 4 year grade, and up to 4 year grade, year 1, year 2, year 3, maximum up to year 4. Then he went to Mosawa, which is around 90 kilometers, and he was in school for year 5, 6, 7 forward. School in just apart from Mosawa, it's called Dakhano, now they call it Hergigo. Well-established man is named Saleh Kikia, established schools, and for both boy and girls. And he come from the village. At the beginning, they looked him down because they came from village and also reading Quran and Hadith, but he doesn't have much knowledge. But within a few months, they noticed Ahmed Muhammad Jasser is good in academic, and he studied very well, and he showed his academic ability. And so within a few months, they transfer him to year 6. Then after a year, he jumped to year 8. So within 2 year period, he jumped 2 years. He met many teachers. There was two particularly, Mahmoud Saleh Sabbe. He was a teacher, and I think he was head of the school at that time. Then another young man, older than him, around 11, 12 years ago, he did teaching qualification at Addis Ababa. His younger brother for Mahmoud Saleh Sabbe, his name Osman Saleh Sabbe, later become well-known Eritrean politician figure, Eritrean statesman. And so they start to teach and they start to take note about the new arrival from village Irafare in Massawa. And they gave him attention to look after him, and he did very well academically. He jumped twice. He have good handwriting at that time. And Osman Salah Sabbi, he did teaching qualification, high institution teaching in Addis Ababa. He's speaking Arabic, Saho Tigray. His Saho Tigray. in Arabic and also Amharic, and good in command in English, Osman Saleh Sabeh. And he knew if we want to develop our country, we need to invest in educations. So he used to send the teacher, a lot of young people from Massawa to Sudan, and some of them reached to Egypt through the border. There's no airplane, no ship, just walking. Okay. So Ahmed Jasser, he have good handwritings, and he used to ask him to copy politicals, newsletters, information. Ahmed used to write on the request of the Osman Salah Sabri, who was ahead of him 11, 12 years, and he used to be active politically, and also he promoted himself to be member of the Ethiopian parliaments, and on mid 50s, because he wanted to be voice for the Massawa and that region inside Ethiopia, and he was to be voice to support Eritrean causes. So, and later on, in November 1958, Eritrean Liberation Movement established in November 1958 in Bur, Sudan, with group of the people, mainly from north of Eritrea, which is Sahel, Naqfa, around that regions. And the guy they select him, his name Muhammad Said Naud. He's from Tigray, from northeast Ethiopia, for our family. Okay, that was the first established, because at that time there was Eritrean government in 1950s in Eritrea, led by Tude Lebaro, he's a Christian. Then the Eritrean Parliament Speaker Idris Muhammad Adam is from Tigray, from most of Eritrea, and so the two figure, one Muslim, one Christian, one leading the Eritrean parliaments, one Eritrean parliament speaker, one prime minister of Eritrea. And Haile Selassie, he wasn't happy that what thing is going on because he wanted engulf, he wanted to take over Eritrea to be joined Ethiopia, because he knew Ethiopia is locked country and want access to the Eritrean Red Sea. In a small country, Ethiopia is large, and his Emperor Haile Selassie, and so that kind of he's interested, and he kicked Eritrean parliaments, and I don't think it doesn't go well. So a lot of active left the country. Osman Salah Sabri, many of them, including Ahmed Jasser, later in around mid-60s, he left. It was peaceful demonstration in Asmara. He involved Ahmed Jasser as a young, and so he became a member of the Eritrean Liberation Movement, which is started from Sudan, Jeddah, Asmara, and went to the Eritrean town and village. And he was active as young, 16, 15 years old, joins. He married, then he went to cross to the Yemen, and he worked in English company firm in Aden in Yemen for some time. Then he met his teacher and his master or head teacher Osman Salah Sabri in Aden. He joined Eritrean Liberation Front. It's called Jabhat Eritrea, Eritrean Liberation Front, established in 1960 in Cairo, 60-61. And specifically areas called Jabal Muqattam, which is the old side of the Egypt. And I'm lucky to meet in Libya one of the 5 or 6 people who write a statement to announce ELPF, Eritrean Liberation Front. His name, he's a lawyer. He worked in court, in a Libyan court in Libya. His name, Suleiman Muhammad. He did up to level in Egypt. Then he went to Iraq. He did law, and he was working in Libyan court. His name is Suleiman Muhammad. I met him many occasions. He used to tell me a lot of things, So Ahmed Jasser established himself in Aden. Then he became representative of EPLF, Eritrean Liberation Front, Jabhat Eritrea, in Taiz, which is one of the cultural capital culture of Yemen. He was in charge of the area with others too. Then in 1968, in leadership of Jabha, mainly Osman Saleh Sabri and his colleague who was in charge of the foreign affairs, they select Ahmed Mohammed Jasser to be Eritrean representative, like ambassador in Damascus in 1968. His main task was to develop a good relationship and a strategic relationship with Syrian leadership, with Palestinian and Lebanese and others countries like China and Cuba and Soviet Union and many others. Okay, so he based in Damascus. And Osman Saleh Sabri, he used to become statesman and leader later on, and one of the most famous Eritrean leaders. And he born 1930. Uh, he was active and based in Damascus, and he relied in his student Ahmed Muhammad Jasser. He did perform very well. He did very well, and he was a mastermind of the coordination communication with Eritrean, Palestinian, in general, all Palestinian organization, in particular the largest one is called Fatah movement. Okay, منظمة الفتح الفلسطينية, led by Yasser Arafat, Salah Khalaf, Abu Jihad, well-known figures in Palestinians. So the idea, first of all, to circulate information, to seek support and media support, through them to develop network, okay, to say, Eritrean, we need help, we need your voice, we need our support for Eritrean cause. That was one of the things he need to ask. He showed good coordination of communication, and he worked under carpet. He doesn't show much publicity. He's good and connected to the leadership, and he did very well in Yemen. With Yemen leadership, he established a good relationship with Prime Minister, leader of the Yemeni. He arranged many meetings for Osman Saleh Sabri with the Yemeni leadership, and that they started they showed his skills. So he became ambassador, and he developed good connections. And he used to look after the group. They came from China. They went for 2 months for visit China. And there's two key figure of that group. It was Ramadan Muhammad Noor, leader of the EPLF, Jabha Shabil Eritrea, which is the current party who lead in Eritrea, manage in Eritrea, or organize Eritrea. The second person was Isyas Afwerki. He became leader of the EPLF 1987, Ramadan 1977, and then become first Eritrean, current Eritrean leader. His name is Isyas Afwerki, and his boss was Ramadan Muhammad Noor. So those two people among the group, they came 10 days before he arrived to Damascus. He looked after them. He sent them to the Maidan. Maidan means Eritrea, where the Eritrean revolution exists through Sudan. At that period of time, Ethiopians airlines used to attack village in the small towns because they support Jabha. They give them food, they give them supply, and also they share informations. So they are main back for the Eritrean revolutions at that time. And Haile Selassie, his regime, they wasn't happy with that one. So they used to bomb village, killing innocent women and children. And Ahmed Jasser, he said, we've got to do something about how to revenge, how we can respond back to the Ethiopia, hurt them back. And that was the idea come out, establish organization at that time. He called it in Arabic, Uqab, the name of the bird, eagle, EAGL. Palestinian at that time, the operative from Damascus used to hijack Israeli airways, airplanes. And I think he said, we need to, Ethiopian, this is the time come, we need to revenge. We need to tell them, you think you got a long arm, and also we can have the same things. We can attack also your interests. So that's why he made contact with the Palestinians. He went to one of the city of the south of Syria, and they trained for four people. He was one of the four. Himself is ambassador or representative. He chose three. One from Afar, he used to live in Germany. He was in Damascus at that time. Another one, I think, from Tigray or Blaine. The third person, he know him very well. He know his family from Sawa. Al-Ustaz Muhammad Osman Sayiq. His son is here, Osman Sayiq, my children's. He used to be representative for the ELF here in London. He used to be a student at that time, 68, in Damascus University. Very calm, very gentle. So he's with himself they trained for 1 month how to then hijack Ethiopian Airlines. That was Ahmed Muhammad Jasser, and he made a deal with the Palestinian. They learned everything. Then when he come back to Damascus, he contact Lebanese guy and who was have connection with the airways. He said to him, "I'd like to know the route of the Ethiopian airline in Europe," and he gave him details of the route. And he first operation start from Greek to Frankfurt, and he sent those three. They plan everything's, and they put devices in airplane, but they have to ensure no innocent, no crew, they're gonna get hurt. Even a cleaner, the last person was lady cleaning airplanes. They, as soon as she get to the building, the device went off. That's the way they do operation in Frankfurt. The first operation في منظمة العقاب, organization عقاب. Okay. In Arabic, the another word similar is called عقاب. عقاب, عقاب. عقاب, the name of the word, eagle. Iqab, punishment. So a lot of people think Eritrea and they think it's Iqab. No, this is Uqab. So before he start, Osman Salah Sabri, he was in charge. He came, he said to him, "We did everything, we're ready to start the job." He said to him, "How long? When did you do that?" He didn't have any clue. He gave him brief and he said to him, "We'd like to ask the name of the organizations." Osman Salah Sabri, who chose the name of the operations called Eagle. So the three, they left Damascus with Syrian passport. Now through the board to the Ethiopia line from Greek, then come to Frankfurt. They went inside Frankfurt. They change route. They take another airplane from Frankfurt to Berlin. Then when they come back to Damascus, they came back to Damascus with Somali passport. They left Damascus with the Syrian passport. They come back with Somali passport. All this been done. He organized it because it was Palestinian and Syrians. So that's the way things went out. He did first one, so mostly one. Second one, he did it. Then after second one, nobody hurt, nobody arrested. He have call meeting with Osman Saleh Sabri. He said to him, "We did very well. From now on, this operation to be stopped for a few reasons. First of all, as you can see from our color, we are dark skin. And the Palestinian, when they do that kind of things, they got people to kind of help them, support them. They get covered by Italian, by Greek, by Cyprus, by Spanish, and they have good connection with them. And also they are similar, all Mediterranean. But our our freedom fighter, they will be arrested soon. Obviously, they're gonna know their color from their features. So he advised Mansar Sabri, 2 operations, that will be enough to say to Ethiopian government, if you think you got long arm, we are capable also to respond to you, and we can hurt you badly. And they did very well. And he said to him, that needs to be stopped. Osman Salah Sabri, he left. He went to different missions. And Osman Salah Sabri, he didn't take his advice, I'm afraid to say that. He continued. There was crash in Karachi in Pakistan. They've been arrested by Pakistani official. Lucky father of the former Pakistani prime minister, well-known lady, Banazir Bhutto. Her father, he was a foreign minister, and she said to him, do not hand over the freedom fighter to the Ethiopian authority. He said, I won't do that. Okay. Another one, I think, I can't remember. But the last one was, it was from Roma to the Spain, and they have been arrested by Spanish officials, and until probably early 90s, they was in prison. So this is brief of Ahmad Jasser involvement in Damascus and a coordination, communication with the Syrian Palestinians, and also the 2 operations he led. And after that, he took his hand out. The second biggest Palestinian organization is called Jabhat Sha'bi Litahrir Eritrea, Palestinian Liberation Front, led by qualified doctor, well-known, well-respected. The second most famous, more respected among the Palestinian struggle. They call him Hakim, wise man. His name Dr. George Habash. His organizations, they send the 3 people to Aden. They say, we'd like to meet Ahmed Muhammad Jasser. They came to Osman Saleh Sabri. We like to see Ahmed Jasser. He said to him, he's not around. He wasn't at that time. And they said, we like to know how he managed to do 2 operations and with clean sheet, no arrest, no trace, no nothing. And they say to him, Sabbi, he said to him, Sabbi, play down. So Sabbi, play down. You see these people around here that even not educated, they just manage to read Quran. Some of them memorize, even they can read it. So we don't have people with that skill you think in your mind. They're not, we don't have the people with that skill and high level of that education, and also they can manage to plot and plan and achieve that and successfully without leaving a trace. So they asked him many times, we need to see Ahmed Jas. He told him he's not here. He wasn't at that time in Aden. So they left with disappointment because they want to sit down with him, get more information. They want him to be involved in their operation because usually when they involve, they blow with people. So, but the plan for Ahmed Jasser was an Eritrean ELF not to have anybody, whether passenger, whether crew members, whether cleaner, anybody. So that's briefly about his activity. Then he moved to Aden, and he messaged just said to Osman Saleh Sabed, other leaders, we need to have a different new organization because a lot of conflict between ELF and the people who was represented in abroad, particularly Sabbi, Ahmed Jasser, Said now, Ramadan Muhammad Noor, many others. So, okay.
Yes, yes, sir. I just want to say, yeah, sorry, it's the time because time we have other speakers as well.
Okay, yeah.
But you got 1 minute to round it off, and I'll share you the picture as well.
Okay, yes.
Because while you're speaking, inshallah, then we can share the picture.
Yes,
I believe.
So, yeah, and he become responsible of the established new organizations. So he bring a lot of freedom fighter from Sudan to Yemen, and he played key figure to taking weapons and ammunition from Aden, from Taiz to Eritrea through the port. And one is dark night, and that's where he managed to do that. Then he became deputy ambassador in Libya. In March 1977, he was one of the 3 people leading conference, and he became information minister in Beirut, based in Beirut and Khartoum. Then 79 became in charge of the military. And finally, in 1984 second conference, additional his responsibility as a military charge, like defense minister, they add responsibility on him to be in charge of intelligence. So he was in charge of military intelligence. Well known among his comrade, among his people involved in freedom fighter, they call him Eritrean National Archive. He had good memory and with great details. This is briefly what I say about Ahmed Muhammad Jasser, who passed away on Friday, December 19, 2019 in Cairo. Thank you for listening, and I will give more details another time. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate to be first person to speak and also contributing just to highlight about Eritrean figures who fought hard. And lucky he, in May 1991, he received leadership letter from the leadership of Eritrea to attend Eritrea Independence Day with his colleague Muhammad Said Nawad. He was the founder of the key figure in the Eritrean movement in 1958, November 1958. Both of them, they get receive letters and to attend an Eritrea independence meetings, and that's were organized by Eritrean government. And that show that they respect and they admire their contribution. And the 2 people who've been invited from the rest of the people involved in the Eritrean struggle, that was tell you they were highly important figures. I'll leave in that one. Thank you. I'm Councillor Muhammad Jasser. Barakallah fikum.
Brother Muhammad Yasser, mashallah. This is a history that many of us don't know. We don't know this kind of information. And, it is important for us to know this so we can carry this kind of important knowledge to our next generation to the youth and the next generation coming up, because you don't know who you are until you know your history and you know the people that made a difference for you. So that's why, wallahi, jazakallah khair for this, and inshallah in the future we can build on this, inshallah, and go more in depth, inshallah.
بارك الله فيك.
Thank you for your time again. Jazakallah khair.
السلام عليكم.
Ma salama. Guys, you heard that, mashallah. It's one of the people that made a difference, that sacrificed and to liberate Eritrea, and for us to be able to call ourselves Eritreans in that sense. The next speaker, we got Brother Rayan. We're just gonna add him here, inshallah. It's supposed to be his mom, our sister Asmahan, but she wasn't feeling well, so her son will be speaking on behalf of her, and his name is Rayan, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, Rayan. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam, Nuruddin. I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Thank you for last minute jumping in on behalf of your mom. I know it's not feeling well. Inshallah, I hope she get better. Inshallah. And today, mashallah, I heard about you're gonna talk about your grandfather.
Yeah, my father's dead.
Your dad. Okay, just the sound is a bit too the volume is too up or too loud. If you can maybe step away from the mic a bit or speak a bit low. No, it's still a bit echoing at the back.
How's it now?
Yeah, it's a bit better, but if you don't stand too close to it, inshallah.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, okay. I will bring up the pictures of your grandfather, but I'm just gonna give you the platform, inshallah, and then tell us about your grandfather. What role did he play into liberating Eritrea?
Okay, so I'd just like to make a disclaimer before I start. I'm not a historian or anything. I'm just speaking on stories I've been told from young, growing up. People telling me about my grandfather. From my dad, from my mom, and other family members. So my granddad, Ahmed Ali Wololo, was born and raised in Semhar in Eritrea in the mid-30s. I believe it was around 1935. They came from humble beginnings, family. They didn't have much. They had cattle, farmers, and so on. And mashallah, it was a big family. My granddad had many siblings. He lived with his mother, his siblings, brothers. And then again, so not to again, my history isn't the best, but bear with me. So my grandfather, he, growing up, again, he used to herd cattle, him and his brothers, his friends, and so on. And growing up, his grandfather and his uncle, they used to build weapons. From scrap metals they would find, from materials, from old unused weapons. So growing up, he really learned and understood how to use weapons, how to manufacture them, how to operate them, and so on. So he was someone that was known for being good with weapons and knowing how to use them and so on. Especially at that time, I believe it was after World War II, because of how unstable things were. A lot of Ethiopians, they used to come to different villages, and they used to try, steal people's cattle, rob people, beat people, and so on. And during that time, we weren't really formed or anything. So my grandfather, amongst other people, took it upon themselves to, be the men that look after their villages, their families, and so on, and to protect their cattle, their livelihood, and whatnot. So this was briefly after World War II. So now in the 50s. So yes, this used to happen in the 1950s, and so a group of armed Eritreans from Semhar. So this is where my granddad was born and raised. Excuse my mispronunciation. A village called Akele Guzai and Gashu Barka as well. So these men, they came together and they began to form a group, where they again protected people and so on. And it came to a point where their reputation started to precede them, and the Ethiopians and the English at the time, they used to refer to them as bandits. So in their eyes, they were the villains because they would do anything to protect their families, their livelihood, their people. So they were known as bandits to them. And during the late 50s, all these groups, these so-called bandits, which of course were our people, they had contact with one another from different villages, from different cities and different towns, but they weren't organized. There was no organization. And around this time, the Ethiopians, they wanted to disarm the Eritrean people and, bring them within, try to integrate them into their country and so on. And so this group, including my grandfather being one of the main ones, they refused into surrendering their arms and surrendering their freedom to be a part of them. So they took it, upon themselves to stand up for their families, for their rights, for their freedom. And so this is when problems started to arise and a lot of conflict started to begin. And I believe briefly after this, the ELF was formed. I believe that was in the late 50s or early 60s, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, that's when the armed fight for liberation began. And around this time, when the Ethiopians were forcing other Eritreans to surrender their weapons and surrender their freedom, what they began to do, they began to capture families of the fighters. So my grandfather's family were captured, meaning his grandma, his mother, his siblings, my grandma, and my uncle. They were captured and they were imprisoned. And this went on for about a year. They were in prison until my granddad, he surrendered himself, as well as many others, for the sake of freedom for their families. And then once again, that's when the fight for liberation began. And just before the fight began, my grandfather was released from prison and he went straight back into the fight. So now, fast forward now around 2 years, so around 1963, this is when my grandfather passed away. So just to paint the picture for you guys, so the scene of how it happened and when it happened, my grandfather was known for being a man who was very courageous, a man of the people, a man of integrity and morals, honor. He really stood up for people. He really protected family, people, as well as others who have no relation to him. He was someone that was known for being there for people. So in 1963, this was, I believe, around December 1963. Him and a group of other troops, they decided to capture Ethiopian police station, police headquarters. And so they went ahead and they done that. As they were doing that, my grandfather was then shot in the leg. And I believe I have some pictures, which I'll show in a bit. So he was then shot in the leg. And once he was shot in the leg, of course, he was immobilized. He wasn't able to move or do anything. And his troops, they wanted to pull him out. They wanted to retreat. And he ended up telling them to leave him and to, save themselves so they don't get captured. And that allowed them to, live their lives. And what happened then? He was captured. Once he was captured, the Ethiopians, they called in the general of the Ethiopian military to come in because again they captured my grandfather, and considering the status he had amongst the Eritrean people, they had to bring in the general. So the general was flown into, I believe it was Agodadat, by helicopter, and he began to interrogate him. He began to question him, and my grandfather, being who he was, again a man of, he had the heart of a lion. He told the general, "I can't hear what you're saying. Come closer to me." So the general came closer. My granddad spat in his face, and then the general shot him there and then. And then once that happened, they decided to hang my grandfather out in public, because they believed that would crush the spirit of the Eritrean people. Again, considering the status that my grandfather had and who he was to a lot of people, they thought this would be the best way to teach the Eritreans a lesson, to try and keep them down. So they had done that, and this was on the 24th of December 1963. Once they'd done that, they gathered everyone in the village, everyone in the town, including my father, his older brother, my grandma, great grandma, and all other family members, as well as locals living within the area. So once they had done that, they believed that they'd accomplished teaching the Eritrean people a lesson. But my great grandma, my grandfather's mother, again, my grandfather got his heart of a lion from somewhere, and it was her. She said Alhamdulillah, she said he his ending is a better ending than anything you guys will ever achieve. And this shocked the Ethiopian general, and they were confused. They were thinking how, but but it just goes to show how a lot of and there's many similar stories to the ones that similar to my granddad's story, of many other Eritrean men and women who gave their lives, for others, and we have to be grateful. And a lot of times we seem to forget our roots. We seem to forget the reason, part of the reason why we're here.
Yeah.
And during this time as well, when my grandfather was killed, he was considered as one of the first, not the first, but one of the first martyrs for the fight for liberation at the time. And ever since then, till now, there's been many articles written about him. There's been many, I think a few people are working on books, including my one of my uncles as well, to write about my grandfather. Again, many articles have been published online and in books, newspapers, and so on. So, just for me to understand that I come from a lineage like that is something to definitely be proud of, and to carry on his name with pride, and
Jazakallah khair, Ryan. It is very important, that you have someone within your family, directly that stood up against the colonizers to liberate Eritrea, stand up for the people. And we don't know. I mean, us as Eritreans, we don't know much about the different people. There are many people that stood up, for their people, to liberate Eritrea in that sense. But especially for our, generations, my generation, and then your generation, the younger generations, and the upcoming generations, they need to know this. It's very important that people sacrifice their life for us to call ourselves Eritreans in that sense. And it's beautiful when you hear a story like this, that your grandfather was a real hero, a real man that really stood up, uh, that really stood up, um, for the people, for their brothers and sisters out there. He wasn't scared and run away, or allow others to push him, and killing his own brothers sisters. In that sense, he stood up for the community, for his country, for his family. And it's beautiful that he told me as well that, subhanallah, when his mom and his family, when they saw him hanged like that, subhanallah, they didn't, just to show them that who has the power, they actually stood up and show that they're proud of what his son has done. That his mom must be very strong, uh, to do this, mashallah. I don't know if you hear more about, I'm 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 not sure if you heard more about his mom, or story about his mom, but mashallah, it is very inspiring to hear, in that sense. I can't hear that much, so it's a lot of background noise in your area, Ryan. Ryan,
Yeah,
there's too
you know?
much there's too much background noise. I can't hear it.
Okay, I think maybe it's the computer. I have a few images.
Yeah,
Uh, Actually,
I'm gonna share some of the images that you sent me about your grandfather. Is it this one, isn't it?
yeah. So unfortunately, these are the only images uh, there are of him. So this is so after they hung him, this is when they brought him down, and I don't know if you can see his legs obviously have been shot, as well as his body. And there's also another picture. I don't know if you have that one as well.
No, so I only have this picture, Ryan. I
Okay.
do apologize.
Yeah. So yeah. So this was him again after he was killed and hanged.
Is that the moment when he spit on the and that general, the
Yeah.
Ethiopian general?
So obviously this was after. So after they
After,
shot him and after they hung him, this
mm,
was uh, this was the moment.
subhanallah, subhanallah. I know, I saw one of the pictures where he was hanged in the square for people to see.
Yeah.
Subhanallah,
And you can even
subhanallah.
see people standing around as well. Some people. He was left hanged there for 2 or 3 days, I believe. So
Subhanallah.
because they wanted to send a message to everyone.
Subhanallah. SubhanAllah, SubhanAllah. May Allah accept him into paradise, inshallah. I mean, and these are the people we look up to, These are the people that stand strong for their community, for their people. And these are the kind of people, and many others that liberated Eritrea because of their courage. They were not scared, against the colonizers. And alhamdulillah, because of their actions, is why we can call ourselves Eritreans in that sense. I'm so proud, mashallah. These are my heroes. For me to call myself Eritrean and many others, these are our heroes, and it's important that we don't forget those people. And I wish, we could find out more about them, who they are, what kind of people they were at the time, and inshallah, it's up to us as a community, as every individual, to go and read more about those people, and share this information to our children and the next generation, so they pass on the knowledge, inshallah, and we don't forget them, and we keep them in our du'as, inshallah. I mean, Ryan, Zakallah khair for your time. May Allah reward you. Thank you for stepping in
No
last minute, inshallah.
worries. I hope I was able to do it justice. Like I said, I'm not a historian. I'm not knowledgeable in Eritrean history, but again,
Yeah.
that's what I can
No,
do.
no, mashallah, it's good enough. Wallahi, Zakallah khair. Thank you very much. And I'm gonna go to the next speaker, inshallah, because due to time, I'm going to invite the next speaker, inshallah. But thank you very much for your time, and give our salam to your mom, inshallah.
Thank you.
Okay, jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Again, thank you for watching today. Today we are remembering the Eritrean martyrs, people that sacrificed their life for us to call ourselves Eritreans, for Eritrea as a country. Eritrea wouldn't be Eritrea without the Eritrean people standing up against those colonizers. So today's event is about finding out about those people. We heard about 2 people so far that stood up against the colonizers, that sacrificed their life to liberate Eritrea for us, alhamdulillah. Now I got a next person, last speaker for today. Her name is Khadija Ali. I'm just gonna invite her to the show, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Khadija, how are you?
عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نور الدين كيفك؟
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for coming today, and for making the time. As we know, today is Eritrea Martyr Day. It's a public holiday in Eritrea, and it's important that we don't forget the people that sacrificed their life for us to call ourselves Eritrean. Yeah, and we just want to hear. I know it's not only the men. I know the women played a big part, maybe even more. And so thank you so much for you to come here and to share this information for us and to educate us more about this topic, inshallah.
Thank you, Nuruddin Abni Abdullah wala akhoya wala. Thank you so much for inviting me to this very important event. This event is being held within our 30th year of anniversary for our independence. Also, as you mentioned, Martyrs Day, regardless, and also it's International Refugee Day. So all the 3 events are very relevant today. Thank you. I'm really honored to be here amongst you to talk about a very important and a very close to my heart issue, which is, Eritrean issue, women's issues, and women's contribution to our struggle. Allah yarham كل الشهداء و glory to all our martyrs. And I hope we honor their, their why they have died for. We honor. They died for freedom, for justice. So we honor that and follow on their footsteps. Okay, to start off with, I don't know, it may have been covered a lot, but I'm going to touch upon historical facts briefly. One is, I'm sorry, I was in the middle of translating what I have prepared in Tigrinya to English, but it's not complete. I hope to complete it one day and send it to you, even recorded. So كم تاخذ جمرة كابت هجرة وحرنتها ومنقصقاس مدرخ رأسه والسنة دلت بإرترا استفلالي سلازنا برا كنت كلاتنا نفلطو كمون ربحاتاتنا يوتأ حيلتات ويحيالان هجرات سلا زتأتاتوا تتاونا كالوت مجزأة حيلتاتن ناي إثيوبيا تي أقداسنت بناي لعلوت حيالان حيلتات هاجرات إرترا بفدريشن كم تقرن جيرو سلازي تي كال أي مدرخ فدريشن زمدنا أمونغو كلتا زتجرج أو سرعتات مالت إرترا وز ديمقراطياوي تاجر نيرا إرترا قوام نيروا منجستي نيروا بعلو هزب زمرات أو منجستي نيروا أو نت أبرس نيروا إثيوبيا ما كم تكلاتنا نفلطو هذا إمبريال وكأني علو المسفنا وسرعات فتح قلبه حسن من حقن زي بقولوا سرعات نيرو سلازي إذا كلتيو بحبار كخيد سلا زي كأله أتي كقادو سلا زي كأله أتي هزب إرترا بوليتيكاو ኣብ እቲ ዝሓየለ መንግስትን ፌደራላዊ ስርዓት ብምፍራስ ተግባራዊ ስጉምቲ ወሲዱ ፓርላማ ኣፍሪሱ ነፃ ፕረስ ህዝባዊ ምንቅስቃሳት ነቐባዊ ስርርዕ ናይ ተማሃሮ ናይ ሰራሕተኛ ኩሉ ፈሪሱ ድሕሪዚ ኤርትራ ኣብ ትሕቲ ናይ ስርዓት ኢትዮጵያ ተቆሪና ማለት እዩ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ እውን ፖለቲካዊ ተቃውሞ ጀሚሩ ናብ ዩኤን ይኹን ናብ ዝተፈላለዩ ሃገራት እቲ ሓላፍነት ብፍላይ ዩኤን ሓላፍነት ወሲዱ ነዚ ግህሰት እዚ ሓላፍነት ክወስዱ ይፅውዕ ነይሩ ማለት እዩ ብድሕሪኡ ከምቲ ኩላትና ንፈልጦ ወይ ከዓ ከምቲ ታሪክና ዝሕብሮ ምንቅስቃስ ሓርነት ኤርትራ ብምንቅስቃስ ሓርነት ኤርትራ ወይ ብሓረካ ዝፍለጥ ምስጢራዊ ሰልፊ ተፈጢሩ ማለት እዩ ELM እንተኾነ እቲ ሃፀያዊ መግዛእቲ ነቲ መርበባት ናይ ፀጥታን ናይቲ ምንቅስቃስን ቀንፂልዎ ስለዚ እቲ ሳልሳይ መድረክ ብረታዊ ቃልሲ ክጅምር ተገዲዱ ማለት እዩ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ንቃልሱ ምስማር ዓይነታዊ ለውጢ ኣተኣታትዩ ብ1961 ዓመተ ምህረት ሰውርኡ ኣውጁ ማለት እዩ ብመሪሕነት ስውእ መሓመድ እድሪስ ዓዋተ ድማ ብረታዊ ሰውራ ኤርትራ ተጀሚሩ ከምኡ ሃፀያዊ መንግስቲ ሃይለ ስላሴ ኣብ ልዕሊ ኣብ ዕሸል መድረኻቱ ነዚ ሰውራ እዚ ንምቕንፃል ብኩሉ ዓቕሙ ተዋፊሩ ንህዝቢ ኤርትራ ነዚ ሰውራ እዝን ከፅንት ከምቲ ሕጂ ክንሰምዖ ፀናሕና ታሪክ ናይ ኣቦና ኣሕመድ ወለሎ ብኩሉ ሸነኻት ከጥፍኦም ፈቲኑ ንህዝቢ ኤርትራ መሬታ እምበር ህዝባ የድልየንን ዝብል ዕላማ እውን ነይርዎ ማለት እዩ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ግን ነቲ ሰውራ ዋንኡ ብምዃን ሓቂፉን ዓንጊሉን ኣንፃር ስርዓትን ኣንፃር ተፃብቆ ዝተፈላለዩ ሓይልታትን መኪቱ ጠጠው ኢሉ ስለ ዝደገፎ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ኣብ ዝተናውሐ ናይ ቃልሲ መስርሕ ብ1991 ነፃነትና ተጎናፂፍና ፀላእ ተሳዒሩ ኤርትራ ነፃ ወፂኣ ብ1993 ድማ ከምቲ ድሕሪ ናይ ብኣህጉራዊ ቁፅፃር ዝተካየደ ሬፈረንደም ኤርትራ ብምልኣት ናፅነት ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ብናፅነቱ ብምልኣት ኣድሚፁ ኤርትራ ሓንቲ ነፃ ሃገርን ልዕላውነታ ዘረጋገፀትን ሃገርን ኮይና ኣብዚ መስርሕ እዚ ተራ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኤርትራውያን ከም ኩላትና ንፈልጦ ሓደ ፍሉጥን ርኡይን እዩ ነይሩ ሃገራዊ ናፅነት ምርጋፅ ሙሉእ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ሃገራዊ መክሰብ እዩ ነይሩ እንኮላይ ናይ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ተሳትፎ እንተኾነ ኣብዚ ኣነ ንኣብነት ቀሪበ ዘለኹ ተራ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኣብ መስርሕ ሃገራዊ ቃልሲ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ብፍላይ ንዕኡ ሃይላይት ንምግባር ስለ ዝኾነ ካብኡ ገለ ክፋል ናቱ እንተዘይኮይኑ ብሰፊሑ ተዛሪብና ሓደ መዓልቲ እውን ዝኣኽለና ኣይኮነን ስለዚ ኣብዚ ሓፂር እዋን ዝጠቐለል ወይ ሓፂርካ ዝግለፅ ኣይኮነን ቀንዲ ክዛረበሉ ደልየ ዘለኹ ግን ገለ ኣብነታውያን ባእተታት ኣብ ታሪካዊ ቃልሲ ህዝቢ ኤርትራን ቃልሲ ናይ ደቂ ኣንስትዮን ኣተኩሮ ገይረ ክዛረበ እተን ናይ መጀመርያ ተበግሶ ብረታዊ ቃልሲ ንምስታፍ ኣብ ምምስራት ኣሃዱ ወይ ሓንቲ ከለያ ዝወሰዳ ማሕበር ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ወይ ተበግሶ ዝወሰዳ ምዝካር ኣገዳስነት ኣለዎ እዚ ንምጥቃስ ድማ ማለት ብቅደም ተኸተል ዘይኮነሲ ጥራሕ ንምሕባር ዝኣክል እዘን ደቂ ኣንስትዮ እዚአን ብሓባር ብሃገራዊ ሓልዮትን ንቕሓትን ብስለትን ተደሪኸን ናቲ ዝተበገሰ ሰውራ ብ1963 ብተግባር ንክሳተፋ ተበግሶ ወሲደን እዚ ድማ ኣብ ከሰላ ብ1963 ነይሩ ነዚ ተበግሶ እዚ ሽዑ እዋን ዝወሰዳ ተጋደልቲ እቲ ስእልሎ እንድሕር ዳኣ ከተርእዮ ክኢልካ ዝበለፀ እዩ እዚ ሓበሬታ እዚ ከዓ ብዝያዳ ኣብ ኣዱሊስ መርበብ ኣዱሊስ ዝተወሰደ ከምኡውን ከም ካልኦት ዝፅሓፍዎ ዝተወሰደ እዩ ስለዚ ኣብዚ ተበግሶ እዚ ተበግሶ ዝወሰዳ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ሓንቲ ስውእቲ ተጋዳሊት ጁምዓ ባቡር ካልእቲ ስውእቲ ተጋዳሊት ፋጥማ ማሕሙዳይ ሳልሰይቲ ስውእቲ ተጋዳሊት ኸዲጃ ኑር ተኽሩራይ ራብዓይ ስውእቲ ዓይሻ ዑስማን በዓልቲ ቤት ስውእ ዑመር እዛዝ ሓምሻይ ስውእቲ ተጋዳሊት ዋሕዱ ሰይቲ ስውእ ዑስማን ከርቤል ሻድሻይ ተጋዳሊት ስተል ሓምድ ብሂወት ኣላ ዕምራ ንሓዮ እንሻአላ ሸውዓተ ድማ ተጋዳሊት ነስሪት ከራር እዚኣተን ሓንቲ ኣሃዱ ኣቆይመን ማለት እዩ ኣብ ከሰላ ብሱታፍ እዚ ድማ ብሱታፍ ናይ ኣብቲ እዋን እቲ መራሒ ዝነበረ ስውእ ጣህር ሳልም ብህላዊኡ ሰውራ ዝመርሒ ዝነበረ ንሱ መደባት ተዋሂብወን ኣብ ስራሕ ተዋፊረን ማለት እዩ በብሓደ ማሕላ ብምፍፃም መደባት ተዋሂብወን ኣብቲ እዋን እቲ ተጋዳሊት ነስሪር ከራር ትሕቲ ዕድመ ወይ ከዓ ዕድመ 16 ስለ ዝነበረ ንስኺ ገና ክትሳተፊ ኣይትኽእለን ኢኸ ምስ በላ ስውእ ጣህር ሳልም ኣነ ብፍጹም ካብዘን ብፆተይ ኣይተርፍን እየ በማለት ቲአን ብፆታውን ምሳና ኣይተርፍን እያ ብናተን ጠለብ ናይ ኣብኡ ዝነበሩ እቲ ናታ ኒሕን ሓቦን ድልየትን ኣብ ግምት ብምእታው ንሳውን ምስኣተን ተፀንቢራ ማለት እዩ ዕድል ተዋሂብዋ ካብቲ እዋን እቲ ኢማጅን ዕድሜኣ 16 ዓመት ነይሩ ስለዚ እዚአን ተጋደልቲ እዚአን ኣብ ውሽጢ ዓድን ኣብ ሱዳንን ብከምዚ ዝስዕብ መደባት ተዋሂብወን ተጋዳሊት ስተል ሓምድ ኣብ ከተማ ከረን ክትከይድ ተመዲባ ኣብኡ ኮይና ክትሰርሕ ካልኣይ ፋጥማ ማሕሙዳይ ኣሮማ ኣብ ሱዳን ማለት እዩ ንኣሮማ ንሓልፋ ናብ ግርባ ተመዲባ ነስሪር ከራር ኣብ ከሰላ ተመዲባ ዒሻ ዑስማን ኣቁርደት ጁምዓ ባቡር ናይ ሳፕላይስ ናይ ብረትን ጠያይትን ተጋደልቲ ምቕባል ከምኡ ካልኦት ሓደሽቲ እውን ኣብ ውሽጢ ናብ ኤርትራ ኣብ ዝተፈላለየ ከተማታት ሱዳንን ብምውዳብ እቲ ቃልሰን ቀፂለን ማለት እዩ ብተግባር ሓንቲ ኣሃዱ ከዓ ኣብ ኣቁርደት መስሪተን እንደገና ካልእ ኣሃዱ ማለት እያ ኣብ ውሽጢ ኤርትራ ነዚኣ ኣሃዱ እዚኣ ዝመርሓ ዝነበራ ወይ ከዓ ተበግሶ ዝወሰዳ ጁምዓ ዓብደላ ሓምድ ስተል ሳልሕ ጁምዓ ኣክተ ዛህራ ኣሕመድ ያዕቆብ ወይ ከዓ ሳጓኣ ዛህረ ትርብዳ ትበሃል ነራ ፋጥማ ዕጀል ኣምና አልሓጅ ዘይነብ መሐመድ ሙሳ ከምኡ ፋጥማ ኣዳላ ከዓ ኣብ ናይ ሕክምና መሳርሕን ኣፋውስን ንምእካብ ተመዲባ ስተል ሳልሕ ጁምዓ ዓብደላን ኣብ ውሽጢ ከተማ ተጋደልቲ ንምቅብባል ብረቶምን ክሳብ ኣብ ሜዳ ዝምለሱ ኣብ ከተማ ኣብ ከሰላ ስለ ዝነበራ ክሳብ ኣብ ሜዳ ዝምለሱ ነቲ ብረታት ኣብ እሙን ቦታ ኣብ ምሕባእ ግድአን ፃወታ ነይረን ማለት እዩ ከምኡ ጁምዓ ኣክተ ኣምና አልሓጅ ዘይነብ መሐመድ ሙሳ ናይ ገንዘባዊ ሓገዛትን ውፅኢትን ንሰውራ ኣብ ምእካብ ተመዲበን ኣብ መጀመርታ 1964 ከዓ ካልአይቲ ኣሃዱ ኣብ ከሰላ ብመሪሕነት ዛህራ ዓሊ ተመስሪታ ኣብ ከረን ቀዳመይቲ ኣሃዱ ብሓልዮት ስተል ሓምድን ኣባልነት መምህር ኣስያ ቃዴ ሙሳን ሓፍታ ኣምና ሙሳ ሳዕድያ ከረን በዓልቲ ቤት ሳልሕ በረዳ ሳዕድያ ዑስማንን ፈጡም ስዒድ ላሕታትን ዘይነብ ማሕሙድን ኣብ ከረን ዝተመስረተት ማለት እዩ ብተወሳኺ ብቐጥታ ብናይ ውሽጢ ከተማ ፈዳይን ዝተኣሳሰራ ዝነበራ ንኣብነት ሰኔት ተስፉ ፈዳይን ሓፍታ ሳዕድያ ተስፉ ሓሊማ ዕቴል ኣምተ ያሲን ወዛህራ ሽማቦኣ ኣብዚኣ ክንረኽቦ ክንፍትን ኢና ምስ ፈዳይን ዝተኣሳስራ ዝነበራ ምዃነን ይግለጽ በኣርከስ ከሰላ እቲ ናይ እቲ ስርርዕ ሰፊሑ ሓይሉ ብጉህድ ክንቀሳቐሳ ጀሚረን ንውግኣት ሓርነት ኣብ ምንባይን ክፉት ዝኾነ ምስ ሰውራ ዘለዎ ምትእስሳር ብጋህዲ ከዘውትረኦ ጀሚረን ብ1964 ድማ ኣብ ከተማ ከሰላ ኮንሱሌት ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ስለ ዝተኸፈተ እዚአን ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ንባዕለን ተላዒለን ንህዝቢ ጎስጒሰን ኣባላተን ጎስጒሰን ነቲ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ኮንሱሌት ዝፃባእ ነቲ ዝገብሮ ዝነበረ ግፍዒ ዘቃልዕ ኣብ ከሰላ ምስ ህዝባዊ ኣብ ከሰላ ምስ ሃገራዊ ሓይልታት ኣብ ሱዳን ብምውሃድ ዓብይ ሰላማዊ ሰልፊ ኣንጻር ህላውነት ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ኮንሱሌት ሰላማዊ ሰልፊ ገይረን ማለት እዩ። ከምኡውን መንግስቲ ሃይለ ስላሴ ኣብ ልዕሊ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ዘካይዶ ዝነበረ ግፍዕታትን ገበናትን ኣብ ምቅላዕ ዓብይ ተራ ነይርዎ ናተን እዚ ሰላማዊ ሰልፊ ብሓቂ ዓብይን ድሙቕን ሰፊሕን ኩሎም ኣዕሩኽ ሰውራ ኤርትራ ብሙሉእ ማለት ኣብ ሱዳን ዝነበረ ነቐባታት ናይ ሱዳን ብመሪሕነት ናይ ሓደ ኣብቲ እዋን እቲ ዝነበረ ሱዳናዊ መሐመድ ጅባራ ዝበሃል ዝተሳተፉ ዓብይን ድሙቕን ሰልፊ ከም ዝነበረ ከዓ ይንገር። ቀፂሉ ብ1968 ዓመተ ምህረት ብመሪሕነት ኣምና መለኪን፣ ዛህራ ጃብር፣ ኸዲጃ ሓምድ ልጃጅ፣ ኣማራ ሰይቲ በዓልቲ ቤት ሃገራዊ መራሒሱ ኣቦና እብራሂም ሱልጣን፣ ሓረጉ ከንቲባይ ሰመረ ውዓሎም ሓንቲ ጨንፈር ኣብ ካይሮ ክምስርታ ከኣላ በቂዐን ማለት እዩ። እምበኣርከስ ቃልሲ ኣስፋሕፊሑ ኣብ ብዙሕ ዓድታት ጨናፍር ገይሩ ኣብ ሙሉእ ሜዳ ኤርትራ ምስቲ ማዕረ እቲ ነፃ ዝወፃሉ ዝነበረ ማዕረ እቲ ምንቅስቃስን እቲ ስርዓትን ናይ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ተሳትፎን እንዳዓዘዘ እንዳኸደ ኣብ ተሳትፎ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኣብ ሓይልታት ምምራሕ ኣብ ፖለቲካዊ ኣመራርሓ ኣብ ህዝባውያን ማሕበራት ዓብይ ታሪካዊ ተረአን ተፃዊተን ብሓንቱ ኣሃዱ ጀሚረን ኣብ ዝለዓለ ፅፍሒ ናይቲ ሰውራ በፂሑሉ ዝነበረ በፂሐን ተቃሊሰንን ወላ እኳ ብ30 ካብ 100 ተባሂሉ ዝዝውተር እንተነበረ ብሓቂ ክንሪኦ ከለና ግን ተሳትፎ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ምስቲ ኣብ ከተማን ምስቲ ባዕሉ እውን እቶም ቆልዑት ምእላይ እውን ኣብ ግምት ኣቲኻ ካብ 50 ካብ 100 ንላዕሊ ተሳቲፈንኦ እንተበልና ካብ ሓቂ ዝረሓቐ ኣይመስልን። ኣብ መደምደምታ ክብሎ ዝደሊ ነቲ ኣብ መዋእል ምብጋስ ብረታዊ ሰውራ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ዝተመስረተ ንቃልስታትን ተሳትፎን ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኤርትራ ዘንፀባርቕ ወይ ዝገልፅ ኣስተዋፅኦ ክዝክር ከለኹ ነተን ኣብ መስርሕ ሃገራዊ ቃልሲ ከቢድ መስዋእትን ዋጋን ከፊለን ዝኸፈላ ኣደታትን ኣሓታትን ንምዝካር በዚ ኣጋጣሚ እዚ ንቃልሲ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኣብ ነፃነታዊ ቃልስና ንዘለኣለም ክዝከር ከም ዝነብርን ከምኡ ብዘይ ተሳትፎ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ከምዚ ሕጂ ክንሪኦ ዝፀናሕና ዝሳተፍ ወይ ብዘይ ተሳትፎ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ክዕወት ዝኽእል ቃልሲ ከም ዘየለ ጥራሕ እዩ ዘረጋግፀልና። እምበኣርከስ እዚ እዩ ናይ ሎም ዘቐረብኩ ኣጋጣሚ ላስት ሚኒት ስለ ዝተሓተትኩ ከምቲ ረያን እውን ክብሎ ዝፀንሐ ንብድሕሪ ሕጂ እዚታት ብስርዓት ሰኒድና ከነቕርቦ ተስፋ ገብር ብፍላይ ድማ ነዚ ሓድሽ ወለዶ ኣብ ዳያስፖራ ዝርከብ ብትግርኛ ተርጊምና ብእንግሊሽ ተርጊምና ከነምፅኦ ተስፋ ገብር የቐኒለይ ዝዕድል እዚ ዝሃብኩምኒ ካፍቲ ሰፊሕ ታሪኽን ተራን ዕዙዝ ተራን ናይ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ንእሽተይ ቁንጭል ኣቢለ ገሊፀ ክኸውን ተስፋ ይገብር የቐኒለይ ንረዲ።
No, Khadija, Jazakallah khair. Shukran. We have some pictures that you asked me to share. If you can tell us a bit more about these pictures, about our Eritrean sisters, inshallah.
Okay, this picture, እዚኣ ስእሊ እዚኣ እተን ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ከምቲ ኣቐዲመ ዝበልክዎ ኣብ ከሰላ ሱዳን ብ1964 ዓመተ ምህረት
Do you mind saying in English now? Sorry, so for the English speakers, inshallah.
Complete in ትግርኛ ኣብ ቅድሚ እቲ ኮንሱሌት ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ምስ ተኸፈተ ተቃውሞአን ንኸስምዓ ሰላማዊ ሰልፊ ዝገበራሉ እዋን እዩ ማለት እዩ ከምቲ ኣብ ተገሊፁ ዘሎ። So this picture is a historical picture. This picture is an inspirational picture that shows Eritrean women's courage and struggle and contribution to our independence. As you can see, this picture was taken in Kassala in 1964. This picture was taken while the Eritrean women held a protest against opening of Ethiopian consulate in Kassala, highlighting the atrocities the regime at that time, Haile Selassie regime, was, happening, against our people. Yeah.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, mashallah. Very strong sisters, mashallah. There's another picture that you asked me to share.
Yeah, this is one of the early martyrs. Her name is Alam Masfin. I just want to honor her and to remember her today, and glory to all our martyrs. I have so many pictures that I prepared, but somehow I couldn't pass it to you. Sorry, maybe next time.
That's fine. What role was she playing, the sister?
She was a freedom fighter.
Freedom fighter, mashallah, mashallah. She took arms and fought against the colonizers.
Yes.
Okay, mashallah.
Unfortunately, she died. She died fighting the Sha'biya in Jabha, during the Sha'biya in Jabha conflict. Yeah.
SubhanAllah, it's very, very, very important to know the sisters that sometimes when there's war or fighting, everyone thinks only men that were involved, but there's so many sisters, as you mentioned, that was fighting at the forefront and at the back, making sure that they stood up for the people.
Yes.
SubhanAllah.
And we all go together, Muslims, Christians, highland, lowland. So this is our national identity, that was created through a long historic struggle.
MashaAllah, mashallah. I don't know. I think Brother Yasser, he wanted to jump in. Let me just add him a bit. Brother Yasser, mashallah. I know you wanted to say something quickly, inshallah.
As I was going to suggest, I don't understand Tigrinya, very limited. So, but I have a general idea about contribution in general, particularly our mother and our sisters, our auntie contribution for Eritrean struggle, and I really respect. And this was what I expected from Khadija Ali. That's why when he said to me, Nuruddin Jahir, he said to me, I'm looking for the female. I said that there's two people in my mind. Khadija Ali, she was a freedom fighter, Kadir Jabha, and her husband Abdullah. I think we can take Khadija Ali, Hawate, and rather Abdu. So she can.
I was in the mass organization. I never held a weapon, but obviously, it's all.
It's not necessary. Freedom fighter, you have to have Kalashnikov, and it could be. You could be active in women's league, could be youth league, could be somebody doing an exhibition, talking on as a teenager in Cairo, in particular Alexandria, in summer camp organized by Egyptian organizations, Egyptian Muslim affairs or Muslim. So they're in charge of the what do you call it? Summer camp organized by Egyptian ministry. So I also do flip chart talking about Eritrean struggle. I like history. So I also do that. Then I did also. We used to go around to the different studios, like Somalia, south of Yemen, before it became one Yemen. Zafar, which is south of Oman. They used to be, and they want to struggle with the Sultan Qaboos. And also we used to have, and then in Libya, in Sabha University, where Dr. Abdul Qadir, he was the lecturer. He came from Germany, and I talk about it in Arabic, but English. I couldn't do it in Labashani, but mainly in Arabic. So I used to do that as a teenager, and I was writing essay in Arabic, and I was young about why I'm refugee in Egypt, because officially I was a refugee in Egypt, getting support from financial information nations. And I also talk about my history, and also I also combine history of the Egyptian during King Farouk of the country. Then free officer became 23rd of July 1953, Jamal Abdel Nasser, the Bat al-Ahrar. So I try to combine between what happened in Egypt and that's in light, and also give an inspiration for the others during Middle East and Africa, Asia, to fight for the struggles. One of the key distinguished contributions made by Jamal Abdel Nasser is he established he know the media is important, in communication importance, so he established Sawt al-Arab for Arabs, Voice of the Arabs, and he established also 1957 Sawt Eritrea. At that time, while Double Mariam, he was in Egypt, and he started to talk, and he spoke to the Eritreans in Tigrinya, first time from Cairo, and many Arab African leaders, they have office, and they was talking the village for the own people from Cairo across Africa. Okay, so kind of one of the promoting Egyptian foreign policy, Jamal Abdel Nasser, that kind of his strategy, he succeeded very well. So, and also in 1956, during there was a attempt by Israeli, France, and Britain to occupy Egypt, because Colonel Nasser, Jamal Abdel Nasser, he stood against the interests of the West, and he said, we need to manage ourselves and with our financial resources to be used for the Egypt. So he asked the Suez Canal was to be run by British and French, become he said it has to be returned to the Egyptians, and we're going to manage ourselves. The income is going to help us to build in Egypt, and they wasn't happy with that. And so that's why they try to, and they start to attack in July 1956. Muhammad Anwar Sadat become later Egyptian leaders during going to the camp.
Sorry, brother
Yes,
Mohammed
yeah.
Yasser, because of time,
Okay.
we're trying to finish at 9 o'clock. But I do have a question for both of you. What message, and if you can say within 1 minute, what message do you have for our community, in particular our Eritrean community, our Eritrean Muslim community, regarding keeping that legacy, to make sure that we don't forget our heroes, we don't forget our culture and Eritrea as our country? What message can you give to the people, what they should be doing?
Mawati, go first.
Thank you. It's an opportunity I was waiting for. I would like to advise the youth to research and to know the diverse history, the diverse history of Eritreans, and to continue also, like intergenerational dialogue. For example, MCA could, provide a platform for intergenerational dialogue. And research and your history. If you don't tell your history, somebody else is going to tell it. When somebody else tells it, they are not going to tell it like you yourself. So it's very, very important to know your own history and Eritrean history in general as well. So this is my advice, and also to unite, to come together here as Eritreans, and show the beauty of Eritrea. I would say, the diversity of Eritrea, and honor our martyrs and practice. So create peace among ourselves as Muslims, as Eritreans, as refugees, as world citizens.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Thank you for that advice. Jazakallah khair. Brother Muhammad, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. I fully agree with Mawati Khadija Ali. But the old generations, and I don't consider myself people who come in freedom fighter, but our second generation who receiving following the events, what's happening in Eritrea. So I strongly suggest as much we can, and all generation to record as much as possible. The information, it has to be neutral, and the key thing is you have to do that. We need to read about history during Turkey or Ottoman Empire when they occupied Eritrea, during Italian regime, during 10 years of British administrations. The key event Eritrea happened after Second World Wars in the 50s and 60s, how they established. And other thing is also, we need to, if you read the BBC, there was a program is called Where Do You Come and Who Do You Think You Are? Where do you come from? Who do you think you are? And people try to force the answers where they come from. I think it's important before our children or grandchildren, before they try to figure out what about their history, we need to do as much as possible record and for them. I think that's our responsibility. One. Secondly, we need to give a strong message in general to say that we are Eritrean, the Christian, the Muslim, the 9 ethnic group. Afar, Belen, Saho, Tigray, Hadaba, Shaida, all 9 ethnic group. We've been united for many years. We'll remain united as one country. We respect each other. We respect our faces. We respect our difference. Secondly, for all Eritrean, particularly for young generations and forwards, in 1952, there was Eritrean parliaments, 50-50. 60 for Muslim, 60 for Christian, okay, 68 totally. They agreed Arabic, Tigrinya and Arabic to be official language for Eritrea. It doesn't matter which political party will try to change direction of the key principle or key icon. It has to remain. They're Christian, they're Muslim, they're 9 ethnic group. Okay, so based on that ones, and that's what, and that remains. Okay, that remains, and all the Eritreans from Harakat Eritrea, Jabhat Eritrea, Eritrean Liberation Movement, ELF, Eritrean Liberation Movement, Jabhat Eritrea, Harakat Eritrea, Water Shabi, so on, including the current party, Jabhat Shabi Eritrean Liberation Front.
Thank you, Muhammad, brother. We only had one minute, inshallah. But Jazakallah khair for your message, and I hope people will receive that and implement that in the community, inshallah. I just want to say thank you so much for your time. May Allah reward you and keep up the good work, inshallah. And hopefully we will see the future that we want to see for our community, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for your time today. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
Thank you. Barakallah feekum.
Masa. Mashallah. Again, thank you for everyone for watching today and listening to the different speakers about the different people that sacrificed their life for us, for Eritrea. So it is now our responsibility to remember those people by educating ourselves and educating our children so they know the history of Eritrea, they know the people that sacrificed their life, and they know why they can call themselves Eritreans in that sense. I do have a few more pictures to show you. One of the viewers asked about the brother Walalo, how when he was hanged. I will show that picture when he was hanged in the square. If I can find that picture now. I did find it here. It's a small picture, but I'm trying to get a bigger picture for that. If you give me 1 second, I will look up that picture because there's a request from one of the viewers that we were not unable to show the picture beforehand. But this is the picture that she wanted to see, and this is where he was hanged on the square in front of everyone because he spit at a general, an Ethiopian general, because he didn't want to follow his orders. Didn't want to get bullied by him, and they hanged him to show in front of everyone. But the people were very strong, and they saw him as a hero, and they were motivated by this to keep rebelled, keep fighting for liberation, inshallah. There's a few other people that I wanted to share that are very important for all of us, especially for the young ones, to go and learn about key individuals. We got Abdul Qadir Kibire, well-known figure in the community, one of the main key people. He was born in Massawa in 1902. He attended Quran school, whereby he then went to Egypt, and he saw and he witnessed the revelation of Said Sukul against the British, and that was a life-changing moment for him, where he decided to go back to Eritrea and get into politics and to make change in Eritrea to improve the livelihood of his people. And mashallah, he done a lot of work when it comes to standing up for Eritrea against the colonizers, mashallah. Another brother called Ibrahim Sultan Ali. He was born in 1909 in Karen, and he played a big part into the emancipation of Tigray in Sahel and Barka, and established the Bloko Independency. He was also the Secretary General of the Eritrean Democratic Front, EDF. And then you also have Hamid Idris Awate. He was born in 1910, and he was the founder of the Eritrean Army, the army wing of the Eritrean Liberation Front, and he was a symbol of the Eritrean struggle for independence. I mean, these are the kind of people, key people that actually, contributed and made a huge change, a huge difference to liberate Eritrea. And it is very important for us that we educate ourselves and learn about those people, who they were and what they did, so that we can pass that information to the next generation, to our children, so they don't forget the sacrifice that has been made to liberate Eritrea and for us to call ourselves Eritreans, inshallah. And this was the month of Eritrean Cultural Festival. Every week we had different online events, and we had different topics. And I want to say thank you for everyone, for all the speakers that attended the different events online to educate our people, alhamdulillah. And next week is supposed to be the last event, and that was to celebrate our culture by coming together, the Family Cultural Festival on the 26th of June. But that event has been postponed due to the government restrictions. It's supposed to end on the 21st of June, but now the restrictions has been extended to the 19th July. So the plan is, inshallah, to postpone the event to the end of July, beginning of August, on a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday 31st of July, Sunday the 1st of August, inshallah. A poster will be made, an announcement will be made for that, for the event to happen, inshallah. But again, all that depends on the government restrictions, if it gets lifted on the 19th of July, and and of course of the weather, if it's good, inshallah. So make sure on that weekend, Saturday the 31st of July or Sunday the 1st of August, that you are ready to come in your traditional Eritrean clothing, bring traditional foods, and we have a whole place decorated nicely with Eritrean culture and Eritrean items to display it. We have a nice bun area and bouncy castle for the children, and a nice activity for everyone to come together and have a great time. And there's going to be some live entertaining performance, poetry, nasheed from different people, inshallah. So it's an event not to be missed, and everyone in the community are looking forward to come together and to celebrate our culture, inshallah. But for me, again, it's been a very busy month to organize this. So I want to thank everyone for watching the different online events, for supporting this event, and to make sure that we don't forget our culture, to keep our identity, and not to forget that we are Eritrean, and not to forget our country, Eritrea. So inshallah, hopefully we can do this on a yearly basis, and make sure there's an Eritrean cultural festival every year. So to make sure that our people in our community and our children don't forget who they are and where they're from. Enough for me, inshallah. Thank you so much, and have a nice evening. Jazakallah khair.